When I was growing up, I didn't have anyone in my family or that had gone into science. I didn't even know a scientist. But I am thankful and I am very privileged because my mother, sorry, I am not a first generation. My mother did go to college. I'm not the first person in my family to go to college. She was a teacher, and for me, going to college was always in the cards. So when I talked to her one time and I told her that I wanted to go into science, that I wanted to become a scientist, she asked me, why? What is a scientist? What do scientists do? Where do they work? I had no idea. All I knew is that I was a nerd. I knew that I liked science, and that was it. She supported me in my decision, and it wasn't until several years later, now 17 years later, when I was sitting where you're sitting right now, that I was able to answer that question, that I was able to figure out what is a scientist by being part of the Leadership Alliance and doing my first research experience. I learned here that a scientist is someone that that figures out the best way to ask a question to solve a problem and figures out a way to answer the question, to get to that answer. And I was able to then explain to her what it was. I was able to then also see myself as a scientist here, see myself as part of this community, this family of scholars that the Leadership Alliance is. Now, a few years later, I came back as a graduate student here to the Leadership Alliance with a better sense of what I wanted to do with my life. I had just I had just published my first paper, so I was feeling quite proud of myself, you know. I'm a scientist now. And I had a very important conversation here with my mentor, Dr. Joel Oppenheim. I cannot see where you are, but he's around here somewhere. Joel is one of the founding members of the Leadership Alliance, and he was the dean of my program and was also the director of the summer program that I did at NYU. So I went up to him and told him, Joel, I know what I want to do when I grow up. I finally figured it out. I want to be you. I want to be you. I want to do what you do. I want to help students. I want to be the person that is there to help students see what is a scientist and how do they become one. But I want to do it differently. I don't want to be a faculty member for 20 years and have to worry about grants and papers and then move on to that. I want to do it now, so I have a plan. I have a plan. I am going to finish the PhD, and then I'm going to go and start looking for jobs, and I just kept going and going. He stopped me. He knows when I am talking myself into a little into one of those situations, and he stopped me and told me, look, Eddie, I think you would be amazing at that. I think that the way that I see that you work with our students is great. You're going to be great at that, and you're also going to be able to make a difference. But no way in hell are you not doing a postdoc. No. So I asked him why. Why should I spend a few years, spend time in the bench when I know that I am not going to be a researcher the rest of my life? And he told me that it was because I didn't know yet what type of scientist I was. But Joel, I'm a microbiologist. I just had my first paper. Yeah, but that's your discipline, Joel told me. What you need to find out is what type of scientist you are. How do you think through science? How do you think through the process? What parts of the process are you the best at? And that's what a postdoc is going to help you figure out. I would love to say that I took that in stride and it made me think. In reality, I took a tantrum and told him that no, but he was right after all. I actually ended up going through a great postdoc experience, and that experience really helped me figure out what type of scientist I am and how I think through science. And having done that, having learned that, helps me help my students figure that out. Helps me help my students figure out why is it that they want to do science and how to do it the best way. Now, I through the process, I've been able to both grow as a scientist, and I've also, my family has grown with me and has learned with me how to become a scientist, and what is a scientist. My mother, who is just retired as a teacher, was a teacher for 30 years, and now I get to talk to her about teaching and about how to reach my students better. Although she admitted when I told her I was going to tell this story that she was hoping that I would change majors and pick something a little bit more conventional, like accountant, or I don't know. But now she's very glad I did it, because she gets to call my students are her nietos. My students are her grandkids. She asks me about them all the time, and she loves learning about them. So I get that in my family, and I get to come here to the Leadership Alliance because the Leadership Alliance is also part of my family. It's part of my professional family, and I come here both to mentor and to be mentored, and to learn how to better reach my students, how to help them become the scientists and the professionals that they're meant to be. I would like to then finish by, first and foremost, welcome all of you into our family. Welcome to you into my family also, because now all of you are my mother's nietos, just so you know. You have a grandmother in Puerto Rico that's rooting for you. And I also come back to the Alliance to give back to this great organization that has been training, mentoring, and inspiring generations of scientists now, and that has been changing the face of science in this country. So thank you very much.